And we are live. Good morning. Welcome to live chat. Okay. Good morning and happy. It is. It is. Where is the camera? Depending on where you are in the world, Naima Singletary here with the power to lead. And I am 5 minutes late. Pardon me. I'm still. A lot has happened in the since last Wednesday. And so there's changes that have occurred in other dimensions and in the spiritual realm that I'm still integrating to in here in the third dimension. I want to say this, that I would like for more of the right people to start to see these videos. What I'm giving here is so tremendous. It's so necessary. It's so valuable. It's for the person who it's for, right? It's obviously not for everybody, but it's for the person who is higher and more advanced in consciousness, who is has finally walked through the door or is on the verge of walking through the door of birthing their signature work. And it's hard. It's really hard. And there's so, much nuance and yet, that deep belly desire to move through and to birth and to then deliver and to be paid, like to exchange that birthing for money, large amounts of money. In the vein of that work, it's such nuanced and special. And, everything that I'll talk about here is about navigating that and doing that in a way that's unique for each individual. And so that's one of the things that has been on my mind over the last few days, or really the last week, is more of the right people. So with that, please share, please share, please share, please share, please share this video. And then I'm also doing my own personal research because I want to understand what I can do to influence, because there's another conversation about folks being prepared. And then what can I do to increase the number of the right people seeing this content? So I'm feeling new. I'm feeling new as far as who I am. Last week was all about bringing the future into now. Or yeah, be her now, be her now, be her now, which is bringing the future into now. And this week is about fighting without fighting. The counterintuitive approach of fighting without fighting. So this week's theme is all about fighting without fighting. And today's topic is yielding for greater power, the counterintuitive approach to having greater impact, having more energy, greater power. So yielding for greater power. So I love this so much because as I was thinking about the last few days and the way his okay, we're back in action. The internet had a little wonky situation. So it's been, it's been like this. It's been like go, go, go. It's been a driving. It's been a very like typically. Excuse me, I'm doing the show now. Thank you. And so in the third dimension, that is a popular approach because in the third dimension, the masculine approach is revealed. Hustle, production, get it done, accomplish, push through, make it happen. Let's go, let's go. Like, it's so easy for me to default into that. It is. It's so easy for me to default into that. And yet, some of my greatest results in my world, in my business, in my body, and has not come from that go. It's come from a softening. It's coming from a laying back, a leaning back. It's come from a sitting and waiting. It's come from a questioning. It's come from, right, that softer feminine place that is not as revered in the marketplace. And so, Feels good. I want to share a couple stories to really demonstrate the power, yielding for greater power, yielding for greater power. And this is important. I want you to get this. I want you to know this. And I'm sharing this because in birthing signature work, nobody can give that to you. It's so not of somebody else's blueprint. I mean, yes, business coach can talk to you about strategy and can, like, I can help you with the closing big money deals. However, birthing signature work is signature. You know, there's no 7 steps to birthing your signature work. It's completely you and your relationship with spirit. Completely. And all other people can do is support you in that. So support you with creating the conditions, the environment, right? They can help you with the third dimensional elements that, right? Because everything that you have in you is of spirit realm. It's of universal language. It's of, you know, high intelligence, and there's visions, and right, you have all that. And then there's bringing it down here to the third dimension, planet Earth, where there are people and feelings and time and money and, right? And so people like me can help create the conditions, right? Like, obviously learning how to sell is a very important skill to learn here on the third dimension, right? Critical. Like, you're not going to get very far if you're not able to sell. The being able to create conditions, right? I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, creating the conditions to where your signature work can come out, right? The physical conditions out in wherever you're living, the conditions in your body, the conditions in your mind, right? And so all of that is really, really important. And so those are the things that community can do, your mentor can do, your, you know, people in your world can do. But the rest of it is you being so aligned with spirit that you know when to bend, when to go, when to yield, who to reach out to, who to link arms with, okay? And so, so what I want to share with you is this yielding. Yielding is so critical. So, I'm going to go back and I'm going to bring it forward. So, remember I told you guys that I built a fashion marketing company from the ground up. And this was my first, like, serious entrepreneur endeavor. When I say serious, I mean, I had left my marriage. I was single for the first time as an adult. I was living in a state where I didn't know anybody, or in a city where I didn't know anybody. I was building this thing up from the ground up. Like, it was like so unique and like adult for the first time. I was in my 20s, and I got popular in Houston. My company got popular. We would host these regular vending events where people would, emerging fashion and beauty brands would pay a fee to be a part of this event, to be a part of the marketing of the event. And so we would get phone calls from businesses like, you know, want to find out about vending. And I remember when I was preparing to come here with you today, this came to mind about, and I thought it was such a great example of yielding. This woman called. I had never met her. She had found out about us through the grapevine, and she was inquiring about being a vendor. And remember, there's a part of me that is very masculine, very aggressive, very go, very like close the deal, get it done, answer questions, let's go, da 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 da, right? Today, I have much more cultivation of my feminine, but back then, I was way more like, go, right? There was so much about spirit that I hadn't cultivated, so much about who I am that I hadn't tapped into. So back then, I was way more like go, right? However, in this instance, when this woman called, I just had a sense. It was, you know, it was just a sense about, right? And so instead of me like closing her right then and there, something just told me to just sort of, you know, because she was asking her questions, something just told me to just sort of lean back about it. And I did. And so she was asking her questions, you know, fees and benefits and deadlines and the typical questions that vendors would ask. And she was like, okay, thank you. And I didn't even try to get her to give an answer of yes or no, which was my typical MO. When somebody called about vendorship, okay, well, here are the details. Would you like to sign up or not, right? That's business, right? And in this instance, something told me to just lean back. And I did. Thank you very much. She said thank you. She hung up. You know, I'll let you know. I'll let you know if I'd like to move forward. There was no like, let me know by this date. There was none of that. Literally within like 15 minutes, this woman called back and she signed up. That came to my mind as an excellent example for what it looks like to yield. Yielding for greater power, yielding for greater impact. And where I would love to engage with folks here, particularly if I had a bigger audience watching me live versus in the replays, as I would engage with the nuance of when you feel an urgency, when you're on a deadline, when you are, right, when you just have some constrictions around things, and you come up against the constriction of the deadline and this yielding, right? The nuance of that, like that's a conversation too that I would love to have. So that was one story I wanted to share about yielding. And then I was talking about this with a woman who's, she calls herself a pussy oracle. She's in San Diego. And we were talking about a year ago, maybe year and a half ago, something like that, year and a half ago. And her work, this is signature work that she's doing. So this is a woman who literally reads women's vaginas. All right, so this is an incredibly intimate experience where a woman is laying on her back, her legs are open, and this woman, as the pussy oracle, looks at it and she communicates to the women about what she sees, the sense that she's getting. The women communicate. It's such an intimate, this is so signature. Can you see this? Who else do you know who does such a thing, right? But this is such signature work. Nobody can tell her how to do this. This is something about her being completely in line with spirit and listening to that, where yielding is fundamental. Yielding to when she's told to do this or to do that or to come this way or say this or don't do that or wait for this, right? And she and I were talking about this yielding thing, about when to go, about when to say it, right? To share with you that, one, you will get lessons over and over and over again. Because see, it started for me, that was back in, so this is more like a tangent right here. So this is not the main point, what I'm getting ready to say. That this topic of yielding, just like many other topics, I want you to get, okay, here, this is the caveat, or not caveat, but this is a tangent over here. I want you to recognize that on this path, it's a long game, remember? And that there are many things that will revisit you to help you deepen it inside of your leadership of what's required for your leadership. And this is one of them, the necessity of yielding. And I'm saying that because I'm realizing how much this actually has come up in my life and how much I know this, and that it's about remembering. Remember? 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 Right? And it's about, right? So that was more like a bonus for you. I just wanted to remind you of that. So, so she and I were talking about this, you know, and and you can see it in these, what they call softer career paths, right? Her as a pussy oracle, that is so, right? Right? Like, so sovereign, so, you know, feminine, so precise, so, you know what I'm saying? And so, and this isn't all signature work, right? All of it. And I hope that nose blowing is not a distraction. I have a family member who's ill. So, last week, when I was talking about Be Her Now, and I told you about the sugar situation I had where I was exerting so much energy. This is also the counterintuitive approach to yielding, okay? Counterintuitive approach that is yielding. Because see, yielding, it sounds like acquiescing, like, right? Like giving up, kind of weakness. It's counterintuitive. So I was exerting, and I want to put this in context now because I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but now I want to put it in some context. There was so much energy and don't eat sugar, F that, no, you're not, there's this aggression around it, right? And it was like literally every day there was like this dragging. And I don't want to hear about this. Oh, after the third day, after that, I've done weeks of no sugar and still will feel that. And then also after 60 days, be right back where I started because I didn't make it a lifestyle. And now it was about making this a lifestyle, but there was a level of aggression. And this is the lesson too. This is what I love about, you know, entrepreneurship and birthing signature work and really aligning. As that it was the reminder of what I know about aggression is not always the way. Oftentimes it's not the way. And so there was like this, I'm not gonna do sugar. It was like this, you know, integrating both the will and the palate, adjusting the palate, eating things to help modify the palate and reduce the desire for sugar and all this and all that. But it was something else. It wasn't just that, right? Signature, that's why you gotta find your way. And so I was at Starbucks and I was feeling this like like energy out of me. And I came across LinkedIn and there was a video about, can't remember his name, Zoo, anyway. But he wrote The Art of War. And he talked about when you're going after a thing, a target, don't go after it head on, you go after it in a weak point. And I applied that to the context of sugar. And to me, head on was that aggressive, I'm not doing this. Yes, I'm gonna do the will. Yes, I'm gonna modify the palate. No matter how hard it gets, I'm gonna push through. No, right? I don't care what. Like I'm gonna do this. Right? I'm gonna fight this. Right? And just even as I do that, do you feel the amount of energy that gets exerted in that? Like even as I'm doing it in this moment, I just feel like I'm using too much energy. But I'm doing it on the inside. So it's like, oh, I'm exerting so much energy just to abstain from not eating sugar. So I'm losing. And so I remember as I was at Starbucks watching this video on LinkedIn and I applied it to sugar. And I said, oh God, I've got to stop doing this. I could see it in that context. I said, I'm going to stop doing this. And I'm gonna start, you know, do 3 days a week instead. Instead of just like cold turkey, I'm gonna do sugar 3 days a week. Just the thought of 3 days a week, just the thought of it, I could feel energy coming back into my body. Just the thought of it. I hadn't even eaten any sugar. Just the thought of, oh, I don't have to fight it so aggressively. I can wean myself off. I can do 3 days for 2 weeks, 3 days a week for 2 weeks, and then go to 2 days a week for 2 weeks, then go to 1 day. And then maybe I'll keep it at 1 day, like giving myself that room, right? And like the 3 days is not weak, because you know, they was talking about going at it, you know, head on versus hitting it at a weak point. Going 3 days a week is not 3 days a week is not weak. It's about giving it the space. It's about, for me, it's about the energy of it. I'm playing another game here where energy is the game. The energetics of a thing, like being able to move without being exhausted, being able to move without feeling like I'm dragging myself, being able to be present, being able to take my time or speed up. Like I want that room, you know, when there's a dragging or a tired, or, you know, and you might have like 15 minutes where you need to speed up. Let me speak in first person. I might have 15 minutes throughout my day where it's necessary for me to speed up on something. But if I'm dragging through the day or I'm tired or I'm exerting so much energy to abstain from sugar, I won't be able to do that 15-minute sprint during the day. You see what I'm saying? Like the energetics of this as you... I have a desire for more of the right men and women to see this and to engage and to hear people's experience with this. One of the, how much time? Oh, we're at time. I'm going to say this and I'm going to go. One of the realities and sometimes difficulties of being on the leading edge of consciousness is the aloneness of it. It's lonely, frankly, it's lonely. And it's also why I've been mostly okay with not getting a lot of views on my videos, because I'm not talking about popular, you know, law of attraction-ish, you know, how to build confidence, like, you know, the cheeky, typical, right? I'm talking about things that are advanced and bringing them into now. And so obviously that's for a more fringe consciousness person, someone, I see myself as the core of the onion, and that the masses are on the outside of the onion, and that I affect the people who are on the outside of the core, and then those people go out and they affect the next layer, and then those people go out and affects the next layer. So in here in the core, it's a lonely place. And yet still I know that there are more of the right men and women who are meant to hear this. And so, and to also give me their reality, like what, you know, what's their experience, and to contribute to the conversation. So that concludes today's show, The Power to Lead. And remember, the theme for the week is fighting without fighting, the counterintuitive approach of fighting without fighting. And today was yielding for greater power, the counterintuitive approach. So I'm here every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Paris time. And so I will see you tomorrow.